What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another fantasy football video. We got our rankings video for you. Super excited for this one, the first one of the 2017 fantasy football season. This is the tight end rankings, and I'm only going to be making one video for this. This one right here is geared towards PPR. However, tight ends, the rankings really don't change. It's basically like Tyler Eifert, and that's kind of it. I mean, once you get into like the 10 plus range, if a guy's getting you catches, you want him on your team. I mean, there's really not much of a rankings change after the 10 spot for tight ends. You just want someone who's involved in the offense in any way, shape, or form. So the rankings don't change much, but keep in mind that this is for PPR scoring. So if you want to adapt this, if you're in a standard league, if a guy is projected, 7+ touchdowns, that bumps him up. Whereas if a guy has a lot of catches but maybe only 3 or 4 touchdown upside, like a Travis Kelce, might get a slight bump down in a standard scoring league because the touchdown upside isn't there. But if you also want the premium rankings, this on the screen here is a snapshot of the premium rankings. And as I go through this, you're going to kind of see these left columns because I wanted to show you guys the tiers. I wanted to show you a little bit of the notes that we have in these rankings, but this isn't everything. In the premium rankings, you're also getting our risk ratings, which is the column to the right here. This is an Excel file, and that's how you download them right to your computer. But there's a risk rating to the right, and that's really important because you don't want to be drafting a team that's entirely, insane risk. But you also don't want to be drafting a team that has no risk. Like, you want to induce some risk because there is reward when there's risk. But you don't want a ton of players who are in the red. Like Gronk, I'll tell you right now, he's in the red for risk for the reasons I'm going to go over in a second. But you don't want to fill your entire team with that. So the premium rankings really help with that. They have projections to the right. It's for all, I believe it's 25 for tight ends, 25 for quarterback, and then 65 for running back and wide receiver. Those are not out yet. The tight ends rankings is out. So if you're watching this video and you have the premium rankings, go to the website. You can download the premium tight end rankings. The other ones aren't up, but I want to get them up later this week. And they will be out before those videos go out. Wednesdays is going to be when rankings go up. So right now it's going to be the 19th, then whatever the next one is. So the next Wednesday is going to be the quarterback one. The next one's going to be running backs, and the one after that is going to be for wide receivers. So I'm going to be going down all the players in the top 25, but I'm not going to touch on everything that's in these premium rankings. You're also getting a top 10 late round flyers. You're getting a bunch of stuff that's added to what you see on the screen here, and it's right on your computer, and it's updated all the time. Like this video, I'm recording it right now. I can only make it once, right? I'm not going to release another tight end rankings in a few weeks when things change. So as things change, we're going to be updating the premium rankings. So it's really nice to have. If you don't want the premium rankings, you don't want to buy them, it's $20 to buy those. You get the in-season articles and access to our private chat. But if you don't want to do that, you can still go over to our website and just download our normal rankings. It's going to be the exact same order, so don't think that we're screwing you guys with like the order of things. No, it's the exact same order. They're not put into tiers, so if the tiers change, it's not going to update in that. It's just one blank list of what round I would take them in. You kind of see the second column here, and then what their rank is overall for the position, which you could count if you really didn't want to see that. But you can download that on the website. You can also view it. So say you only want to look up who's higher, this guy or this guy. You don't want to download it to your computer, you just want a quick glance. That's if you go to the drop down under draft rankings. But if you just want to download it to your computer and you want to edit it yourself, then click the draft rankings, and then you'll see all the different rankings you can download right to your computer, 100% free. But if you want the premium, again, it's $20 for the entire season. You have access to the private chat. You've got all of our articles we're going to be putting out during the year, and you get the premium rankings. If you don't want that, okay, it's completely fine. If you want professional opinion, because remember, I'm no professional. I have a part-time job on the side. I go to college. I am not a professional fantasy football analyst. This is just my opinion. If you want expert analysis, Pro Football Focus is the way to go. We have a discount code in the description down below. If you just go to the website and get it, you're not going to get the discount, obviously. So if you want to go to the website, check it out. Come back to any video we've posted, go in the description, click the link of the one you want. So there's Edge and there's Elite. Elite's $200, so it's pretty expensive. But if you play DFS and you've got the money, I mean, Elite's really good for DFS. So if you guys play that, I do recommend getting that. But if you're just a normal season-long fan, Edge is completely fine. You're getting 12.5% off of that. So check it out in the description below. Use the link and use the code, or else you're not going to get the discount, and that's just stupid. If you have a discount code in it, don't use it. So all of that being said, we're going to hop in to the tight end rankings at the number 1 spot with Rob Gronkowski. Pretty darn obvious. There's really not much you can knock on him skill-wise. I mean, the dude's a monster. He's involved in the offense. I'm not concerned that Brandon Cooks is going to come in and garner a ton of targets that are taken away from Gronk. Like, Gronk's role in this offense and in the red zone is 100% secure. The issue with Gronk is that if you look at it, he's basically a 50% bust rate. We got 2011, 90 receptions, 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns. That is a championship winner. And this is why people draft Rob Gronkowski in the second round. Because he is a championship winner. You have that season out of your tight end, you're dominating your opponents on a weekly basis from the tight end spot. And, you know, there are going to be weeks where you play a tight end and they get you 4 points. And when Gronk goes out there and gets you 30, that puts you ahead. 2014, 82 receptions, 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. 2015, 72 receptions, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. He can do this again. The issue is he failed to return value, I guess his rookie year, but we're kind of going to throw that out because no one's drafting rookie tight ends. In 2012, 2013, and 2016, he failed to meet value because of injuries. And you say, well, were they fluke injuries? No. Anyone who watches football knows these aren't fluke injuries. He lives in the hospital. 2011, ankle sprain. 2012, pulled hip. 2012, fractured forearm. 2013, back vertebra fracture. 2013, ACL tear. 2013, knee strain. 2016, he had a pulled hamstring. He also had the disc hernia in his back. I believe, yeah, he had surgery for that slip disc in his back. Like, every single year, the dude's getting hurt. So, this is why I will draft Gronk in an online league. Again, I'm a Patriots fan, so there's no way in the world in my hometown leagues I will draft Gronk because he typically goes in the first round. I mean, he went second overall in my money league last year. So, no, obviously I'm not going to do that. But I have him as a third round value. So, then again, all these are 12-team leagues. If you're in the third round and you want an elite tight end, I am okay drafting Gronk. And again, you guys, if you watch all my mock drafts, you watch all my videos, I'm not a fan of taking tight ends early, but I am fine with Gronk third round. Any format, standard or PPR. Second round, there's a little too much risk. And again, there is a lot of risk with other players in the second round. I'm not saying that there aren't, but I would rather take a shot on securing a top-end running back, securing a top-end wide receiver, because it's so difficult, not for wide receivers, but it's so difficult to hit on a top running back, and it's so important to your team if you do, that I want to take as many shots as possible. And the bust rate of Gronk being 50% is concerning to me, and it's higher if you count his rookie year. I wouldn't call him a bust in his rookie year. He had a good rookie year, but it was still, I think, like, I don't think he made the top 10, but don't quote me on that. But he had an okay rookie year. I'm not going to call it a bust, but after that 50% bust rate, it's just not something I want, because you draft him in the second round, you're lacking at either wide receiver or running back, whichever you didn't pick at that spot, and I don't know, put your team really behind, and then maybe you're not taking as many shots on running backs, so maybe your next one busts. It's just a downward spiral if your second round pick busts. So I just want to be secure in the early picks, and Gronk isn't that secure. But third round, we're good to go. Let's move on to Travis Kelce, and he rounds out tier 1. I threw him in with Gronk. Not that he has the same upside. Gronk has more upside. But I think that the floor with Kelce is so much higher that he should be in this same tier. He has played 48 consecutive games. He had microfracture surgery his rookie season. After that, he's good to go. He didn't play his rookie year. Good to go after that. 48 consecutive games. It's why I love him. Anywhere in the fourth round. You've heard me say that. As soon as we hit the fourth round, you are good to go drafting Travis Kelce, and I'm going to be doing that this coming season. We saw what he's capable of last year, right? Weeks 11 through 16, he averaged 7 receptions, 108 yards over a 6-week stretch. The issue, again, is the touchdowns. Gronk has 20 touchdown upside. Kelce has like 7 touchdown upside. He only has 14 touchdowns over 48 games. That's not a good amount. You know, we look at 2011, Gronk had 17 touchdowns. We look over, what, 4 years? 3 years. We look over 3 years, he's got 14 touchdowns. That's, I don't know. It's concerning. So if you're in a standard league, like I said, he gets a drop because you can't project him for many touchdowns. The receptions will be there, absolutely, but you can't project him for a lot of touchdowns. So anywhere in the 4th round, I'm good to go on Kelce. I don't have him as a high risk. He had the surgery rookie year, so I guess if anyone's involved in the offense like he is, anyone is a risk to get hurt. But I don't think he's not even close to an injury risk like Gronk is. So that's why I have him in the same tier, because he's not a super high risk. It's just the upside isn't there. So if you're going for pure upside, grab Gronk, but they're not going to be available at the exact same point. They're close. I don't think the gap's that big, but Gronk is going ahead. So I have Gronk 3rd round value, Kelce 4th round value. That is tier 1. Next, we move into tier 2, and heading off tier 2, and it's really only a 2-man tier, is Olsen and Reed. Now, this might surprise some people that I have Greg Olsen ahead of Jordan Reed, and it shouldn't if you watch my mock drafts, in that I've never drafted Jordan Reed because he is, like Gronk, such an injury risk. And I get, again, that the upside's there, but look at Greg Olsen. Has not missed a game since 2007. I know that's the Frank Gore effect sometimes, where you look at the end of the season and they played every game, so their numbers are better. Whereas maybe someone has similar numbers, but they played 14 games and were actually more valuable to your team. But he has 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. And when you have 1,000 yards out of your tight end, he's getting you top 5. For how weak the tight end position is, if you get 1,000 yards, you're probably around top 5, unless you got really unlucky in the touchdown department, or you had a monster like 90-yard touchdown that accounted for a large portion of yards on one play. You're probably going to be top 5. So if you look at their offense, again, they added some pieces, but he's probably going to be in the 900 to 1,000 yard range again. So if you're saying you're with pretty solid confidence, you're getting a top 5 tight end being drafted as like the 4th or 5th tight end, the value there and the certainty there is why I'm perfectly fine grabbing Greg Olsen in the 5th round. I'm hesitant on Gronk. I love Kelce in the 4th and Olsen in the 5th. Why do I have Kelce ahead of Olsen? Upside. I think Olsen is the safest tight end you can pick, but the upside really isn't there. Like, the upside for 1,312 touchdowns is not in the range of outcomes for Greg Olsen. That is why I love taking him, but he does get a bump down behind Kelce. Why is he ahead of Reed? They have the exact same round grade, 5th round grade. I just can't do it with Jordan Reed. He is 1 concussion away from retirement. In my opinion, he's 1 concussion away from retirement. So, like, I just look at the injury history again with him. And if you want to know where I'm getting these injury histories, it's sportspredictor.com or something like that. I'll look here right quick. Sportsinjurypredictor.com. Type in, they don't have every player, but if they don't have a player, it probably means he doesn't have an injury history. But we pull it up here for Jordan Reed. 2011, hamstring pull, concussion. 2012, concussion. 2013, thigh bruise, concussion. 2014, dislocated thumb, 2 pulled hamstrings. 2015, knee sprain, hamstring sprain, thigh bruise, concussion, MCL sprain. 2016, concussion, AC joint dislocation. Did you hear how many times I said the word concussion? I think it's 7. I think the number he's at is 7 right now. Maybe it's 6, but I want to say it's 7. Regardless, he is legitimately potentially 1 concussion away from retirement. That is not someone I'm drafting in the 3rd round. Like, he's put together stretches where you're saying, wow, this guy could hit 90 to 100 receptions, 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns. That is in his range of outcomes. That is not in Greg Olsen's range of outcomes. And it's likely not in Travis Kelce's range of outcomes because the touchdowns aren't there. And listen, Jordan Reed could have 100 catches, which means that if you take Jordan Reed in the 3rd round and he has 100 catches for 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns, you're in the playoffs and you're probably fighting for a championship with that one pick, because that's how much ahead it will put you at the tight end position. Because like I'm going to say, with basically everyone else on this list, the upside is not there. No one else has that upside besides Gronk. So you can draft him. I have him as a 5th round grade. If you want to take him in the 4th, I guess. But I won't be doing it, because there are so many running backs and wide receivers that I like in the first 5 rounds that I want to grab as many of them as I can. And Jordan Reed just doesn't do it for me. So I'm not taking him. I have him 4th. A lot of people have him 2nd, but I'd much prefer, even at the exact same pick, I would probably take Travis Kelce and Greg Olsen ahead of him at the exact same pick. You said I'm in the 5th round, they're all on the board, I'm taking Kelce. You say they're all on the board except for Kelce and Gronk. Well, Gronk obviously I would have taken ahead of Kelce. But everyone's on the board except for Kelce and Gronk. 5th round, I'm taking Olsen. I'm not taking Jordan Reed. So there's just too much risk. I'm a risk-averse person when it comes to tight ends, okay? But let's move on to the next tier. So headlining this tier is Eifert. Then we go Jimmy Graham, Kyle Rudolph, and Delanie Walker, all going in a relatively similar range. I have Eifert, Graham, Rudolph as 7th round grades, and then Delanie Walker as an 8th round grade. If you watched my mock draft this past Monday, I was deciding between Rudolph, Delanie Walker, and Pierre Garçon in a PPR league. And then I said at the end, if I had gone back and redone the draft, I would have taken Rudolph at that spot. And that's why I moved him up into the 7th round grade, because I've looked at my mock drafts, and the issue I have with taking a tight end in like the 5th, 6th, 7th round has always been that I love so many of the wide receivers in that range. You guys know I love Diggs, Crowder, Snead. And that's where they're going. If you're going to get that combo, which I doubt you can get all 3, I've basically told you guys pick 2. But really, you got to snag one of them in a PPR league. But pick 2, because you're probably not going to get all 3, because you're going in kind of a tight range. But it's 5th, 6th, 7th if you're going to hit on that, which is why I really haven't been able to get these tight ends. But one guy, and I'm going to talk about him after these first 2, is Rudolph. Really targeting him in drafts. And I'll talk about that in a second. But Eifert and Graham more than Eifert is who I'm getting. Eifert, especially in a PPR league, he just doesn't really do it for me. Like, the touchdown upside's there. Listen, he's got 15 touchdown upside. But the yardage isn't going to be there. He does not have yardage upside, doesn't really have reception upside. So in standard leagues, yeah, I can definitely see taking him even in like the 6th round of standard league. And I'm talking 12-team leagues for all this. But in a PPR league, I just think that you can get, I'm not going to say similar production, but you can get relatively similar production in later rounds where you can't get, like, I don't think Diggs is going that late, but maybe Snead's going that late. Like, there's some of these guys that I really like in this like 6th, 7th round where he's going, that at like the wide receiver and running back position that you just can't get later, especially the running back position. There's some good guys going in this range that I just can't do Eifert. So an Eifert's a no for me. Graham is a yeah. You know, if he slips a little bit, you can grab Graham. He's going to be involved in the offense. You know, Doug Baldwin is going to take his targets. But other than that, and Procise, I really don't see many people challenging Jimmy Graham for targets. I mean, 65 catches, 923 and 6 touchdowns last season, number 4 in standard and PPR. They were skewed a little bit. He had some really bad games. 8 games where he had 10 or fewer PPR points, which is not ideal. Tight end position overall was low scoring last season because some of the top guys got hurt. Not saying that can't happen again, but I'm saying finishing number 4 last year in a year where you don't have Gronk or Reed up there isn't the same, and Eifert. So I'm not saying that was like a monster year he had finishing number 4. And they were, again, skewed towards some bigger games, and that's going to happen with Jimmy Graham in that offense. Listen, he's going to have games, again, like basically the rest of this list, they're going to have games where they stink. And you're going to be like, why did I spend such a high pick? Which is why I don't generally spend a high pick on this position. But I'm okay with Graham. So 7th round grade for him. But if I'm drafting in the 7th round, and I think Graham is going ahead of Rudolph, I might move Rudolph ahead of Graham in the coming summer. Right now, I have Graham a little bit ahead of Rudolph, and the projection to have the same thing. But I am more likely to draft Kyle Rudolph. He is my favorite mid to late round tight end pick. I'm not going to call him a late round tight end pick, and I have a good sleeper that I like in the late rounds that I'll talk about. But he is my favorite like mid to late tight end pick. Tight end 2 last year. People don't really realize that in PPR scoring because he had 83 receptions, 840, and 7 touchdowns. Now you ask yourself, what could change this year? Well, will he see touchdown regression? Probably not. He led tight ends in overall targets and red zone targets. He had a lot of red zone targets because you look at who they have. It's Diggs is their one. He's their slot guy, but he's like their number 1 target for wide receivers. I mean, Diggs isn't huge. Adam Thielen, I mean, you can't really call Adam Thielen like a monster red zone threat. You know, I think Dalvin Cook is going to be the guy this year. I don't think Latavius Murray is any good, and I just think Dalvin Cook is just going to take over that offense. Could Jerick McKinnon take over some third down roles? Yeah, but I think Dalvin Cook take over that offense, but he's not like a guy that's going to garner a ton of red zone looks. I think it's Kelce again this year. After Pat Shurmur came over, or changed to the offensive coordinator ahead of North Turner, we saw Rudolph's production actually increase. So you add to this, he has the easiest tight end schedule this coming season to a guy that's already going to be super involved in the offense, has already shown us he can be. If he can stay healthy, then he's going to be really good. He's been clean. Past 2 seasons, he's been clean. But he missed 8 games in 2013 with a fractured foot, 6 games with a sports hernia in 2014. So he's not like a no-risk player. You know, he isn't Greg Olsen. He could get hurt. He's been clean the past 2 seasons, so I'm not going to call him super injury risk. Just know that he could get hurt, but I still love the pick. If I'm in the 7th round, I'm taking Kyle Rudolph if I don't see my Diggs Crowder Snead combo or running back that I like. I'm taking Rudolph. Next guy I will take as well. I will take Delanie Walker. He's a little bit after, more of an 8th round pick for me. But again, he goes in the 8th round. I think that's around where he's going. So if you want to take a tight end that you're comfortable with, I like Delanie Walker. The Titans are going to run the ball a lot. They brought in Decker. They drafted Davis. The volume will go down, okay? You need to put that through your head. The volume will go down. The law of diffusion of targets. It's just, that's how it works. When you add someone, as long as they get 1 target, that means your targets are going down in all likelihood. Maybe that target came from someone else. But when you draft someone and bring someone in, your targets are going down. That's just how it works. Especially in the red zone with Decker being such a good red zone threat. I still think he's a fine pick. He's going to be in the 60s for receptions. He's going to be around 800 to 900 yards. He's going to get a few touchdowns. And when you're a tight end, that puts you as a 1. Maybe a low-end 1, depending on the year, but it's roughly a tight end 1. So I will draft him in this range. He's going to hit value. He's probably not going to exceed value, but I like him a good amount. I haven't actually taken him in a mock draft Monday because I have loved the value that's been presented currently in the drafting community in the 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th rounds. But you guys know once August comes, value kind of dies a little bit. People start realizing that guys are a steal in the 10th round and they move up to the 9th, they move up to the 8th, they move up to the 7th. So value kind of takes a hit, and then you go with some of these guys like Kyle Rudolph and Delanie Walker. So those 2 are my favorite in this range, in this tier. But I will draft Jimmy Graham, just probably not in many leagues. Like, I'm going to be in probably 12 leagues. I'll probably have like 1 Graham, honestly, maybe like 4 or 5 or 6 Kyle Rudolphs, and then maybe sprinkle in like probably 2 Delanie Walkers, and then the guy I'm going to talk about later. So probably no one else, to be completely honest. Maybe a Hunter Henry, who I'm going to talk about in a second, but it's a guy in a later round who I'll have the rest of my shares in. So let's just move into this next tier. And it's basically as small as a tier can get. It's 1 player. Martellus Bennett gets his own little mini tier. And it's really because I don't like him in the 4, like the tier above, but he's firmly, in my opinion, ahead of the tier below. So that gives him his own little mini tier. I mean, he's moving to the Packers from the Patriots. Pretty good situation last year, except for the fact that he was behind Gronk. and he was injured. He said at the end of the year he had something wrong with his foot, so maybe that's why he looked so slow. In my opinion, he looked really, really slow, which is concerning. But he's moving to the Packers, and when you've got Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball, and you are a red zone threat, you've got to be ranked relatively high. Now, I know Nelson's his first, second, and third read in the red zone. I know Devonta Adams is going to be looked at in the red zone. But listen, they don't run the ball in the red zone. So even if, Nelson gets 12 touchdowns and Adams gets 6 touchdowns, there's still 20 touchdowns to go around for everyone else. Ty Montgomery will take some. They're going to run some in. And listen, he's going to get his touchdowns. If Bennett stays healthy and he's using the number one role, you can project him for a good amount of touchdowns. The issue is kind of going to be inconsistency for him. I get that he's going to have huge weeks, but he's also going to have some really, really down weeks. It's going to be more game plan based for him. So it's not a pick I'm probably going to be making much. It's good value though, and I have him 9th round. If he's there in the 9th round and all the other guys are taken and you don't like the range below, then you can definitely take Martellus Bennett, because I think he's the last option where we can say for 100% certainty we're comfortable with their role in the offense. Because listen, they used Jared Cook last year, and Jared Cook, if he is the number one on your team, you do not have other good tight ends, because Jared Cook is not a good tight end. So I don't think the rest of the tight ends are really going to push Bennett. I think they're going to use Bennett as long as he can stay healthy. So he's a fine pick. He's not one that I'm going to make a ton, but he's a fine pick. Hunter Henry, I definitely like him a good amount. You're going to see regression. No one repeats 8 touchdowns on 36 receptions, but maybe the touchdown rate regresses, if that makes sense. So 8 touchdowns on 36 receptions is a pretty high touchdown rate. Maybe he gets up to 50 receptions, though, and can keep around 8 touchdowns. I'm projecting him for less than 8 touchdowns. I think Gates is still going to be used. I think Henry will take over as the every down tight end, which has been very, very good for fantasy purposes in recent years. But Henry is not going to be the 100% guy as long as Gates is there. Gates is super old, but they're going to get him the record. So there's another touchdown. And he's going to be used in the red zone. We saw last year he kind of dwindled out a little bit in overall usage, but as soon as they got close to the end zone, they brought him in. And I think they do that again this year because he's so reliable in the red zone. He's been such a good target in the red zone, and that caps the upside for Hunter Henry. Does he have top 5 upside in the future? Yes. But when is that future? I don't know. Maybe still a year or two away for him, which is why I like him a lot, and I think he's a good pick in the 10th round, but he's not someone you should be overly targeting, and he's not someone you can move really any higher than I have him at number 10. So that's my take on Hunter Henry. Ebron's right behind him, and I really do like this ranking in this next tier. Hunter Henry, then Ebron, then Ertz, then Doyle. I don't really see a case for any other order, and I'll go over why. I mean, Ebron is better in PPR because standard, he's just not used in the red zone. Now, maybe that was a factor of Bolden being there, but I don't think it is. I think that some guys just aren't good in the red zone. And I think Ebron might be one of them. Is he going to be a low-end 1, high-end 2? Honestly, probably. With how scarce tight ends are, he's probably going to hit value. It's just I don't think he really exceeds value. And I'm kind of looking for a guy in this range. If you're going to hit value, I might as well just take someone in the 14th round. If you're going to hit value in the 11th, 12th round, and no upside beyond that, I don't know. Do I really want you on my team? Let's just take a shot on someone else. If they don't pan out, I'm going to grab someone on free agency who's going to get within 10 points of Ebron. I mean, really. At this point, everyone's pretty similar. So, Ebron's a good tight end. He's going to hit value. It's a good value where he's going. It's just he doesn't have top 5 upside. Same thing with Ertz. I'm not going to say he doesn't have top 5 upside because he got 6th in PPR last year, but I am not excited to take Zach Ertz. The production came in 2 games. And one of them was Week 17, which if you play DFS, you always play Zach Ertz in Week 17. He won me a ton of money. I mean, that was my best week. I think I put $20 in. I won $300 because I had 100% Zach Ertz and Rex Burkhead. because I looked at the situation. It was perfect situation for both of them, both 2% ownership. I was like, yes, sir. Fired them both up 100%. But he had, what, 11 or so receptions, 140 and 2 touchdowns or something? And in a year of down tight ends, that jacked him up to tight end 6. But I just like, what does he do in that offense? They brought in Alshon. I don't think Torrey Smith's that good, but he's there. They've got Blunt to take touchdowns away from him. They already have Jordan Matthews. Like, where do you see a top 5 upside with Zach Ertz? Unless you're projecting Carson Wentz to be a top 8. I mean, if you're projecting Carson Wentz to be top 8, sure. Then I guess Zach Ertz has top 5 upside. But other than that, I don't see the upside. And you're never going to know when to start him. 6 games with fewer than 7 PPR points, that is not good. 7 PPR points is not hard to get from a tight end on free agency. He had 6 games of that. You never know when the huge weeks are going to come, which is why it's going to be super frustrating to own him. Maybe he ends up returning value, but it's not going to feel like it. It's the Brandon Cooks effect, where maybe he returns value when you look at it at the end of the year, his end of season numbers, but it's not going to feel like it because there's going to be huge weeks and there's going to be terrible weeks. And that's not what I want. So he's tight end 12 for me. Tight end 13, ending this tier. I don't even know what tier we're in at this point, but ending this tier is Jack Doyle. And the upside for him is there. He led all tight ends in catch rate and was 5th in red zone receptions. And the Colts, if you look at recent history, love to throw to the tight end in the red zone. So he's got tight end upside. I'm not too concerned about his backup. They're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets anyways. So his usage is probably going to be, honestly, it's going to be pretty similar, in my opinion, to what he did last season. I don't think it's going to shoot through the roof. My issue is that he's just never put together a full season. We've never seen Jack Doyle be an elite tight end threat for more than like a few weeks, and really never really even be an elite tight end threat. So he's more of a guy I want to play in daily. He's a guy where I want to look at, oh, this is a shootout. I'm going to stack the Colts game. A lot of points are going to be scored, and they're bad against tight ends. Let's fire up me some Jack Doyle. That's when I want to use Jack Doyle this season. It's not in season long. It's just not an exciting pick to make in the 12th round. I'll do it. I mean, if I didn't get value early and I didn't get value middle and people were reaching on Henry and Ebron and Ertz, like, you know what? If Doyle falls to me, I'll take it. But he's not a guy that I'm targeting. Whereas I'm targeting Kelce. I'm targeting Greg Olsen. I'm targeting Rudolph. I'm targeting Walker. Not really anyone else except for the guy who I'm going to talk about in a second. And I wouldn't even call that targeting. I'd say when everyone else was taken off the board, let's fire me some Austin Hooper. So we'll jump into this next tier here. Austin Hooper, tight end 14. I probably have him higher than anyone else. I'm really not sure you can make a case to put him any higher. But I think I have him the highest of anyone, really. So why do I like him so much? Well, this is a pick that I just like to make late. You know, I love loading up on skill position guys, so the running backs and the wide receivers, and then just waiting on tight end and quarterback. If a tight end falls to me, if value opens up for Kelce, if value opens up for Rudolph, I'll take it. But if guys are reaching on quarterbacks and reaching on tight ends, I'm going to take the value at the running back and wide receiver. I'm going to take, a Tyrod Taylor, a Winston, a Cousins, someone like that late, a Rivers. And then if people still are reaching on the tier above for tight ends, then when everyone runs out of tight ends, I'll just grab Austin Hooper. Because could he bust? 100% yes. He could absolutely bust. But I will be fine dropping him. Week 3 comes. He hasn't got me many points. Listen, a lot of tight ends probably won't be getting you many points early in the year. Like, you're probably going to have to drop. Some people in the range, like 6 through 12, I'm saying like probably 4 of them could be dropped. I'm not saying they will, but it's a completely plausible explanation that they get dropped. So, Austin Hooper is a guy I can drop, but a guy that offers me at least upside. Is he going to be a tight end 1? I don't know. I think in the future he will be. I really think in the future he's going to be a tight end 1. He's the clear-cut number 1 on a high-powered offense. He had the 4th highest production premium last season, 4th highest yards per target, fantasy points per target, And when I look at that offense, I say, well, in the past they've used the tight end, and he looks really good, and they score a lot of points. Like, it just makes sense to take the tight end in that offense, and you're getting him for free. I mean, I have him 13th round grade. He's going undrafted in a lot of leagues. So if you want to wait until the very end, take a guy with upside, a guy that will get you points. I mean, he will get you points, even if they're not many points. He'll at least get you some points this late. I'll take it. And could you make a case for Witten ahead of him? Yeah, you definitely could. Could you make a case for Fleener ahead of him? Yeah, you could. I definitely don't like Fleener ahead of him, and I'm considering putting Fleener in the tier below. He isn't right now just because of the upside. Similar reasons to Hooper, upside-wise. But I do like Hooper ahead of them. Listen, Witten's Mr. Consistent. And again, kind of like Greg Olsen, it's the Frank Gore effect of looking at the end of the season and saying, well, I mean, that looks like a good year. But it's a good year because he didn't miss a game. And it was just okay every week. Like, he never has monster weeks. He's going to be in the 60 to 80 receptions, 600 to 900 yards, 3 to 6 touchdowns, and like, that's just okay. Again, at this spot, he's going to hit value. 100% he's going to hit value. He'll be fine for you. But I don't want fine. Like, I want someone who, if everything breaks right, can get me top 7 at this point. Which is why I don't really draft Jason Witten, and I don't really play Jason Witten in daily fantasy, because every week he's just going to be fine. And I don't want fine. So I'll take Austin Hooper ahead of him. If you want to take Fleener ahead of him, go for it. I don't think Fleener's that good at football, which is why I don't draft Colby Fleener, and I never drafted him last season. Like, he's a solid pick late because he has upside. But he's not that big of a part of the Saints offense. I mean, Hill was taking snaps away from him last year because he doesn't know how to block Fleener. And he's not that good. He's just not that good. But again, in the 15th round, how many of these guys are going to get you a ton of points each week? Like, at least Fleener's on the Saints. At least he's got Drew Brees throwing him the ball. Like, that's been very, very good for fantasy in the recent years with Jimmy Graham. Like, obviously he's not Jimmy Graham, but if you're a tight end on the Saints, you haven't had to be that great. I mean, remember, what was it? Benjamin Watson was pretty good. I mean, Benjamin Watson's not that good of a tight end. Like, Fleener has upside, which is why he's a solid pick here. He's got a chance to post tight end 1 numbers. Yes, he does, which is why you can take him ahead of Jason Witten. I just think he's a disappointment. I really don't think he's a good fantasy football player. I don't think he's a good football player. I don't even know why I threw fantasy. Now, I don't think he's a good football player. Why won't be drafting him? But he's ahead of the tier below because these guys, they're just like, you know, when you make a pick and you're just like, well, that wasn't very ideal. That's what these guys are. Like, when your tier starts off with C.J. Fedorowicz, it's not a good tier. So do I want to start any of these guys? No. But if you guys are in deeper leagues, you can look in this range, and this is the way I would have them. Again, I'm not drafting rookie tight ends. So unless I am literally in a 16-team league, I will not be drafting O.J. Howard, Njoku, Evan Ingram. They make the list because you have to put someone there, and I guess they have some upside, but I take Fedorowicz ahead of all of them. He's probably going to finish as a mid-2. He's probably going to return value at this point, but listen, unless I'm in a 14-team league, I'm not looking for him. He lacks upside. He's solid. I think he's better than Griffin, but listen, like, they're going to use Griffin too, and it's not a super tight end usage team, so I just don't want to draft any of these guys, really. Charles Clay's coming into 2017. He's undervalued. I mean, where you're getting him, again, like some of these people on this list, like, he's going to hit value at this 19 spot, and where he's going is undrafted. Like, he's going to hit value. It's just that you can't count on him to be your starter. So if you're doing this waiting thing, like, don't think that you can wait till the end of your draft, grab Charles Clay, and you're set at tight end. Like, you're going to get stomped by the people when Gronk's healthy. So not someone you can really trust, and I don't really draft multiple tight ends. So keep an eye on him on waivers. If he does do good to start the year, he's got some upside. It's just that you can't rely on him in multiple weeks. He's going to put together some good weeks. You're never going to know when to start him, like anyone on this list. So I'm not drafting anyone really on this list unless it's a 14-team league or more. But this is how I would have the rankings. I guess Julius Thomas offers some upside. But again, has he ever finished a season? Like, he's always hurt. Zach Miller's always hurt. Gates, I'm not sure he's going to finish the season. Like, he's chasing the record. Once he gets it, and they're not going to use him between the 20. So he's going to be the definition of touchdown dependent, which is not a guy I want to start. Jared Cook's just not a good tight end in general. You know, people have been talking about him as a breakout candidate in recent years. He's just not good at football. Maybe he's good at football. Like, I can't sit here behind a laptop and say he's not good at football. But he's not that good. And Aaron Rodgers made him last year. Could Derek Carr make him? I mean, maybe, but I don't know. Like, that's not a pick I'm excited to make. I'll make him ahead of some of the rookie tight ends, but again, this is tight end 23 we're talking about. It's not someone you should really even be looking at. You should be looking at the range above. So you can't see on the screen here probably. It's David Njoku and Evan Ingram to round it out. But again, listen to the video I posted already on this channel. We don't draft rookie tight ends, so I'm not drafting O.J. Howard as well, unless, of course, this is a dynasty league or a super deep league. But if I had to order the tight ends, the rookies, like maybe you are in a deep league, it's O.J. Howard, then Njoku, then Evan Ingram. I think there's too many targets to go, or not enough targets to go around, too many weapons on the Giants, so that I just can't draft Evan Ingram. Njoku, listen, there's going to be, the targets going to be there, but how good is his quarterback play going to be? How many points are they going to score? How much is he really going to get used? It's not much, so don't draft him. And O.J. Howard, listen, he's going to block a ton, and they already have Brait, who's not that good, but they have Brait, who's going to take targets away. Deshaun Jackson, they've got, obviously, Mike Evans, so not a pick I'm making either. So really, this red tier, I'm not touching any of them. The last guy I'd touch is Fleener at 16th. But I'm targeting Hooper. Again, if we go through this, so the guys I would actually draft, it's Travis Kelce in the 4th, it's Greg Olsen in the 5th, it's, I guess I'll take Graham in the 7th, Rudolph in the 7th, Delaney Walker in the 8th, I'll take Bennett in the 9th if he's there and no one else is really of value. I'll take Eric Ebron in around the 11th, 12th range. I'll take Henry in that like 10th, 11th range. I'll take Jack Doyle around the 12th, but probably not, to be completely honest. And then if you want to, don't get any of those guys, you want to wait late, it's Austin Hooper. It's if everyone's off the board, I guess just grab Jason Witten for a few points each week. But that is my thoughts. That is all of my thoughts on the tight end PPR rankings. I hope I went over a little bit of standard, but again, when you're in that end range, you're just looking for usage. So if a guy's good in PPR, just grab him in standard. Like, it doesn't matter the scoring system. Once you get past, I would say, once you get past like 13, scoring system's irrelevant. Once you get past ones, basically. Once you get past tight end ones, all like the 12, 13 ranges off the board, just it's a tight end who's used in the offense. That's what you want. Doesn't matter what the scoring system is. They're all going to get you a few touchdowns, a few hundred yards. They're all the same pick, basically. But again, that is it for this video. If you want to download the normal rankings, you can go right over to the website, click the draft rankings. To download it, if you just want to view it, go to the drop down, just view each one. We have standard and PPR rankings, but I only make videos for PPR and then talk about the difference for standard. If you want to download this file, again, you did not get to see everything. There's plenty more to the right that you didn't get to see. Check it out on the website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. Download the premium rankings. It's $20 for the entire year. Plus, you get our articles in season. You're going to get my DFS stuff. Like my DFS article, I'm giving you my cash game team. I'm giving you some tournament lineups. So if you play DFS, that's a huge thing. You're going to be getting our waiver wire stuff, our trade stuff. So check that out. You also get the private chat. But that is finally the end of this video. And thanks for watching.